Okay, let's get straight into this. Even if this is your very first Spanish lesson, you're going to come away from the video being able to speak using complex everyday Spanish sentences. And as not all of you will be complete beginners, I've also included a section for non-beginners. If this applies to you, you can jump forward to the time code that's on the screen now, or you can stick with us for the extra practice. Welcome to ProSpanish. See if you can guess the meaning of these Spanish words. See if you can match them up. Practicar, estudiar, usar, visitar. So I'm sure you got those. Practicar, to practice. Estudiar, to study. Usar, to use. And visitar, to visit. Noticing that the V in Spanish is a bit like a B in English. Visitar. And what do you think it would mean if I said practicar el piano? Practicar el piano. Yeah, to practice the piano. What about something that's even more important than that, which is practicar español? Practicar español. What does that mean? Yep, to practice Spanish. And it's important to note at this point that the precise vocabulary we're using now isn't too important. So if it doesn't seem immediately relevant to you, then stick with this because we're creating a framework, a conversational framework, and you'll be able to overlay your own vocabulary onto that. And this is actually a key feature throughout my ProSpanish Levels 1 to 6 course. Okay, what about with study? So estudiar, what do you think this means? Estudiar historia. Estudiar historia. Yeah, to study history. And how would you say to study Spanish? Estudiar español. Estudiar español. Now, one of the things about this approach that I'm using now is that it allows us to introduce structures or patterns that traditional courses hold back for a long time because they're seen as too complicated, even though they're incredibly useful. So, for example, the word it in Spanish, it is just lo, L-O, lo, it. And if you want to say to practice it, it's just practicarlo. So, lo is it. So, to practice it, practicarlo. And notice that it's all one word. We just glued the it onto the end of practicar. So, practicarlo, to practice it. How would you say to use it? Usarlo. Usarlo. To use it. How about to visit it? Visitarlo. Visitarlo. And going back to use, what do you think it would mean if I said usarlo mucho? Usarlo mucho. Yeah, to use it a lot. To use it much. Mucho, like much or a lot. So as I said, doing it this way, we're able to jump straight into the very, very useful stuff. And again, this is one of the main features of my Levels 1 to 6 course. That is making the really useful stuff accessible and ready to use right from the word go. Okay, let's extend our list of verbs. So we've already got estudiar, practicar, visitar, usar. Let's add in there salir. Salir, to go out. And pedir algo, to order something. Pedir algo. Just looking at algo, something, let's apply it with to use. How would you say to use something? Usar algo. Usar algo. We could even say usar algo mucho. To use something a lot. let's look at pedir again, to order. So leaving aside the something, the algo, how would you say to order it? To order it. Can you remember that word for it? Yeah, it was lo. So to order it is pedirlo. Pedirlo, to order it. Okay, we're going to add in 3 things from the first column. So we've got tengo que, which is I have to, or I must. So tengo by itself is I have, but when we say tengo que, it's I have to, or I must. I'm going to is voy a. Again, that V like a B. Voy a, I'm going to. And suelo is I tend to, or I usually do something. So, for example, I tend to have dinner late, or I usually have dinner late. And you don't need to try to memorize any of this. Just follow the flow of the lesson and you'll learn it naturally. Okay, so what would it mean if I said, tengo que estudiar? Yeah, I have to study. Tengo que estudiar. How about suelo practicar? Actually, let's say suelo practicar mucho. I tend to practice a lot. I usually practice a lot. How about I'm going to study? What would that actually, let's say I'm going to study Spanish. What would that be? Voy a estudiar español. Voy a estudiar español. And how would you say, I'm going to order something? What would that be? Voy a pedir algo. Voy a pedir algo. And remember the word for it? Lo, that we just stick on the end. So how would you say, I'm going to use it? What would that be? I'm going to use it. Voy a usarlo. Voy a usarlo. And we'll just take a quick pause here while I mention my very popular Levels 1 to 6 course. This takes the complete beginner or near beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in a series of very easy to follow steps. Now, all the lessons on this YouTube channel are supplementary, whereas the core Levels 1 to 6 is very much a step-by-step program delivered by me, the same teacher as all the other videos on this channel. And while the style is very similar to what you'll be used to from these videos on the channel, the key difference is that every lesson carefully builds on the previous lessons so that you can really feel that progress of going from little or no Spanish up to a level where you can confidently hold a conversation in Spanish. And that course download is available exclusively from ProSpanish.co.uk. Okay, let's bring in a few things from the third column. So we've got con Pablo, with Pablo, con Maria, with Maria, and contigo, with you. Okay, using all 3 columns, how would you say I usually practice with Maria? Suelo practicar con María. Suelo practicar con María. And it could be suelo practicar el piano con María. O suelo practicar español con María. And how would you say, I have to go out with you? What would that be? Tengo que salir contigo. Tengo que salir contigo. And let's add in the remainder of column 1. So we've got quiero, I want, puedo, I can, and a very useful one, acabo de, which means I've just, as in I've just done something. So acabo de usarlo, I've just used it. So quiero, I want, puedo, I can, and acabo de, I've just. Looking at I've just, how would you say I've just ordered something? What would that be? A very useful phrase. Acabo de pedir algo. Acabo de pedir algo. I've just ordered something. How about using I want? How would you say I want to go out with Pablo? What would that be? Quiero salir con Pablo. Quiero salir con Pablo. At this point, let's add in just a little word. No. No. So we can add no at the beginning of any of these to make a negative. No quiero. I don't want. So puedo is I can. No puedo. I can't. How would you say I can't use it? What would that be? No puedo usarlo. No puedo usarlo. How about I don't want to go out with you? What would that be? No quiero salir contigo. No quiero salir contigo. I don't want to go out with you. And let's add in the final bits from the third column. So we have primero, first, al final, in the end, like in the final or finally, so in the end, and ahora, which means now, ahora. So primero, first, al final, in the end, and ahora, now. How would you say, I tend to order something first? What would that be? Suelo pedir algo primero. Suelo pedir algo primero. How about I can't go out in the end? I can't go out in the end. So change of plans. No puedo salir al final. No puedo salir al final. And how about I want to use it now? Quiero usarlo ahora. Quiero usarlo ahora. And how would you say, I usually study Spanish first? So you have to add in Spanish for yourself. I usually study Spanish first. What would that be? Suelo estudiar español primero. Suelo estudiar español primero. And how would you say, I've just studied it with Maria. Acabo de estudiarlo con María. Acabo de estudiarlo con María. And how would you say, I have to practice something first? Tengo que practicar algo primero. Tengo que practicar algo primero. And when we've got connectors like and but, we can use this information that we've got here twice in one sentence. So, for example, but is pero, P-E-R-O, pero, but. So, how would you say, I want to go out, but I have to study with Pablo? What would that be? quiero salir, pero tengo que estudiar con Pablo. Quiero salir, pero tengo que estudiar con Pablo. Or maybe you use ¿por qué? Because. ¿Por qué? Because. How would you say, I can't go out with you now because I have to practice something with Maria first. So it's quite a lot there. I can't go out with you now because I have to practice something with Maria first. No puedo salir contigo ahora porque tengo que practicar algo con María primero. No puedo salir contigo ahora porque tengo que practicar algo con María primero. So you can see already how quickly and easily you can build up conversational Spanish with the right approach. So before we go on to the part of the video for the non-beginners, another reminder that my ProSpanish Levels 1 to 6 course is only available for download from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, welcome back to anyone that skipped forward to the non-beginners section. So much of the language, well, most of the language is going to be the same as before, except we've got a new first column. Now, previously, we saw that you can just add the it, the lo, to the end of the infinitive. So to study is estudiar, to study it, estudiarlo. But it's also very common to hear these pronouns placed before the first verb. So, lo is it. It's also him. So it and him, lo. And la is her, as you can see, and that kind of makes sense. And it's also it when referring to something feminine. So let's say historia. Historia ending in an A is feminine. So I'm going to study history. Voy a estudiar historia. If we know that from the context and we just want to say, I'm going to study it, then it would be voy a estudiarla. Voy a estudiarla. So, la historia. And me for me and te for you. And so we've got more to work with the me and the te. I've also added into our verbs ver, to see, and llamar, to call. And at some point I'll be asking questions using you, so you have to or you're going to, but that won't appear on the screen. Okay, so how would you say, I tend to order it first? Lo suelo pedir primero. Lo suelo pedir primero. And how about, I'm going to visit her in the end? What would that be? La voy a visitar al final. La voy a visitar al final. How about, I can't see you now? No te puedo ver ahora. No te puedo ver ahora. And how would you say, can I use it now? Can I use it now? And the it is referring to la lavadora, the washing machine. So, can I use it now? ¿La puedo usar ahora? ¿La puedo usar ahora? How about the question? Are you going to visit him in the end? ¿Lo vas a visitar al final? ¿Lo vas a visitar al final? And what about, do you want to see me or not? Do you want to see me or not? What would that be? ¿Me quieres ver o no? ¿Me quieres ver o no? What about, you have to call me first? Me tienes que llamar primero. Me tienes que llamar primero. How about, you can't call her now? No la puedes llamar ahora. No la puedes llamar ahora. And how would you say, you usually call me first? Me sueles llamar primero. Me sueles llamar primero. And that brings us to the end of this video. Another reminder that the ProSpanish Levels 1 to 6 course is available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk.